and welcome to our playful learning stream today. We're going to be making motorized marker cars. My name is Kate and I'm with the 2-Bit Circus Foundation, and I am coming here live to all of you. Today, during this start of the school year, we're going to be coming to you live Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons starting at 3:30 to continue our hour of playful learning. And today we're going to be creating a motorized marker car, which is an exploration on kinetic energy. And, we talk a lot, especially myself. I have mentioned a lot to all of you that energy is neither created nor destroyed, and that is exceptionally important for this particular project that we're going to be exploring today together, because it does involve the transfer between potential energy and kinetic energy. So to get started on that, what I have for you all here today is going to be a short video that's going to give us a brief overview of what we're going to learn today, and then we're going to get started on our activity after we learn a little bit about potential and kinetic energy in particular. But let's get started. Let me turn up my volume for all of you at home. Excuse me. And I will be narrating along a little bit with this one, because this video doesn't really have audio. So, the law of conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created, nor can it be destroyed. So energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted, from one form to another. So we're about to see conversion of energy. The solar energy, which is taken by the solar panel at the top of the hat, gets connected to electrical energy, because remember, electrical energy is a secondary power source, not a primary power source. So the solar energy is our primary power source that powers our electrical energy, which are the batteries there, which then turn into mechanical energy, which is the fan that you can see at the front of this kiddo's cap that keeps him cool. So that is the process of conversion of energy in this example that we see right here. Oh, he's going uphill. So, right at the top of the hill, he has his most potential energy. That's right, because that is energy due to the position that he's in. The greatest amount of potential energy is at the top. And then, due to motion, he's experiencing kinetic energy as he flies down that hill on his bike. The unit of energy that he is expressing in is called joules. You might have heard that before. Not our family joules, but joules. J-O-U-L-E. J-O-U-L-E-S. Woof! My spelling was off today. Looks like he's trying to get himself to swing on a tire swing by himself. So when we hold the tire on one side, as you can see, he's trying right there, it has a certain amount of potential energy because it's not going anywhere yet. However, when it is released, potential energy starts getting converted into kinetic energy because of gravity. As the tire moves back and forth, so it swings from side to side, kinetic energy gets converted into potential energy and vice versa. So the two extreme ends of the little U that we see right here, so this side and this side, is where the potential energy is the highest, and you can see that the actual swinging motion is where the kinetic energy is explored in this particular example. I know, super shocking, kiddo. Oh, it looks like he got very interested in some apples up there. Well, in order to get them, he's gonna have to figure out some stuff. So, just so you all know, the formula for potential energy is mgh, or mass times gravitational acceleration times height. So the weight, for instance, of this object for the car, the height of this object, how tall or long it is, and then the gravitational acceleration, which means the velocity that it swings back at whenever I let it go and let gravity take over. That is what gravitational acceleration means in this particular example. So let's see how he's going to use this formula to get those apples out of the tree. So at the top of the tree, PE is possessed by his mgh, so mass, his weight, times by gravitational pull, and how tall or how far he is from the ground. All of those multiplied together is his potential energy. So that's 5,880 joules right there. And at the top of his tree, he's got 0 kinetic energy because he's not going anywhere, right? However, if that branch should break or if he should fall over, that potential energy gets converted into kinetic energy, just like he said. And that is exactly what happens just before he lands. And the formula for kinetic energy is half multiplied by mass times velocity squared. Or an easier way to look at that is if you take mass times velocity squared and divide it by 2. So with that in mind, for this particular instance that we're looking at right now, I'm sure they're going to do the math for us. Looks like he's going through the heat wave that we're going through this weekend. All right, so it looks like that's the end of our video right there. So as we all saw right there, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It is either held as potential energy, like at the top of a hill, and it gets converted while in motion, usually due to gravitational pull, into kinetic energy. And that follows the scientific principle of energy can neither be created nor destroyed, just converted. So a great example, before I get into our project here today, is roller coasters. Roller coasters are a great real-life example of potential and kinetic energy being used constantly. So we're going to be talking now about these different types of energy, and hopefully I can explain them to you in a better way. So energy in moving objects. Just so you know, energy exists in a variety of forms, such as heat, light, sound, or emotion are just a few, just so you know. But moving objects have what is called mechanical energy. And mechanical means it's produced by or relating to a machine. So as long as there's a machine inside, it's mechanical energy. And it applies to any object that is in motion or raised above the ground. They also have mechanical energy. Why is this important? Well, mechanical energy makes things move, which is very important because most of the time we do need things to move in order to do the job that we need for it. So roller coasters are designed to run on 2 basic scientific principles: gravity, which we were just talking about, the g, or the velocity, and 2, the transfer of energy. Because on Earth, gravity is the force that pulls objects towards the ground, the transfer of energy is what causes them, objects that are at rest, so objects that don't move at all, just like this, to move. And objects in motion, so for instance, this object rolling, I don't know if you can see the wheels, but you can hear it. This also the transfer of energy also causes these objects to stop or slow down. So not only does it get it from a point of not moving to moving, it can get it to a point from moving to stopping in motion completely. And Chris is a really cool guy over here, and we're going to hear a little bit more of what he has to say about his roller coaster job.
My name is Chris Gray. I'm a mechanical engineer. I work at Gray Coasters International in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. We design and build wooden roller coasters all over the world. Welcome to my house. I have roller coaster stuff everywhere. I made a decision when I was 8 years old. This is what I want to do. I remember standing in an amusement park and being completely amazed at watching these things move through the structure, trying to figure out what the forces were that would scare someone to make them scream at a particular point of a ride. A roller coaster is based all on gravity. We're building potential energy as we go up the lift. The higher we go, the more potential energy we have. So you have to take all those forces and mix it up a little bit to give everything just a little twist of excitement, so the person that's actually riding the ride never knows what to expect next.
So not only, my friends, is the energy important for the roller coaster engineer to know so that he can create a fun ride, but also he needs to know all of these things if he wants particular screams or particular moments of rush to happen at a specific point in the track. I never thought about that. I never thought that a mechanical engineer was actually creating and timing out the right spots for me to scream on a roller coaster ride. But the mechanical energy in a moving object is a combination of not only the potential energy, remember when it stopped, but also with its kinetic energy. And potential energy is another way of saying stored energy for all of my friends out there. And kinetic is a way of saying something in motion. So we're talking about stored versus something in motion. Hopefully something with your hands like this will help you out. So this is potential and this is kinetic. You can move your hands around. And so what the engineers are looking for, just like Chris was saying, is the greatest amount of potential energy at the beginning of the ride, because gravity and the descent or fall of the track and that potential energy being converted into kinetic energy is what gives us all those amazing G's and all that fun acceleration that we feel whenever we go on a roller coaster, at least for those of us who enjoy roller coasters. So on PBS, not only do they have these amazing videos for all of us, but they also have this really fun roller coaster game that I'm going to play with all of you right now. So what this roller coaster simulator is going to show us is the potential energy and the kinetic energy wave. The graph represents relative amounts of potential and kinetic energy. It does not include energy loss from friction. So for example, there might be places wherever the mechanical engineer might put certain tracks so that you could slow down so that they can play with the speed that you're going at. Let's just play it all the way through so you can see the full motion of the roller coaster. As you can see, potential energy grows as they go up the hill and plummets every single time they go down and use gravity. And actually with the hills, you can see that the pie moves. So we're gonna go step by step this time. So the first step is that the roller coaster goes up the hill where it builds the most potential energy. As you can see from the circle, it's 100% at potential energy right now. However, when we get down to the bottom of the hill, this is the lowest point of potential energy because of the gravity that the roller coaster fell into. So it's mainly kinetic energy, as you can see by the blue color of the pie chart. Not to mention the velocity of this roller coaster. It used to be 2 miles per second up here. It's now 20 miles per second, which is a big difference. Then when it's going up into this loop, you can see that the potential energy needs to grow again, because if it doesn't, then they'll just rock backwards or slow down and go nowhere. So they need an extra push whenever they go to this loop-de-loop. And at the top of the loop, you can see that is the highest point of potential energy in that cycle. And then when they go down again, we can see that the full pie chart is at its highest kinetic energy point because of all of that gravity that sucked the roller coaster back down. Because there's a second hill right here, of course it has to gain potential energy again in order to, of course, end the ride at a full kinetic energy level. So, with all that in mind, and hopefully that made a little bit more sense to you, my friends, we can start our fun activity today with exploring potential and kinetic energy. After I've shown you some examples of real life, what do we call them? Structures, excuse me, that we deal with on a regular basis. I mean, Magic Mountain isn't that far from most of us, and that's where most of us will find our large roller coaster collection. They not only have old school wooden roller coasters, which is what roller coasters used to be built out of, but they now have obviously heavier duty ones that are made of different types of metals instead. So I'm gonna put on my creation a hot glue gun, which I'm going to be plugging in right now. So that it can heat up. Oh no, just dropping all of the things. Okay, so I've got my hot glue gun, working on getting warm. Should put out my hot glue gun stand. Now, since we are working with hot objects and sharp objects today, friends, as always, make sure you have an adult around with you or somebody responsible that is going to keep you safe, because remember, hot glue guns do burn. I have accidentally burnt myself quite a few times, and it's not pleasant. And I don't want any of you experiencing that. So, just be very, very careful, all right, my friends? Okay. So what we're going to do first is I need you to grab your hobby motor, and I'm going to grab one black and one red wire. You don't have to do this. You can just grab 2 wires. I just happen to have color-coded ones right here. And just so you know, if you don't feel like hunting around your local dollar store or around your house for these sorts of objects, you can order these kits. Either our Steam kits, which are a little bit larger and more of a subscription style box, or you can grab activity specific boxes that we can send your way that has all of the tools that you need for different activities. And we can absolutely help you out there. Again, you can look on our website, www.2bitcircus.org, to find more of our products and information there. So I've attached wires to both ends of my motor. As you can see right here, it's got 2 little arms and a connection right down here. I'm going to be doing my beauty influencer hand so I can show you guys a little better. So I have 2 separate wires hanging on, and he kind of looks like he's a little person with 2 little hands sticking down. Awesome. So after I finish that step, what I'm going to move on to next is what you want to do is hot glue a quarter to the end of the motor arm. This will provide the counterweight that vibrates the motor. So right here, that's where we need to glue the coin off center to create the vibration. So they do want us to glue this off center just a hair. And I see why they wanted a small object, because it needs to spin but not hit your car. So now the question is, do I use this bigger motor or do I use the smaller motor? I'm gonna go with the smaller motor for now, just because I'm working on the smaller car. And I know coins are a little difficult to find right now, especially with some shortages going on, so I'm going to improvise. But as long as you attach something kind of weighty on the motor side, I think we should be okay. It's all about experimenting, right? 2-Bit lets me experiment, so I'm experimenting with you. And it's okay to say that you don't know whenever you're doing certain things and you've never done it before. It's okay to not know everything. I would say that makes you just like everybody else. And that's okay. Now, with hot glue, it doesn't really work like other glue, so you do have to hold it together until it dries for a bit. I do have a fan right next to me, which I have been using to maybe speed up the process a little bit, because I only have so much time with my friends here today. And all of it can't be done, all of it can't be spent watching this, waiting for this piece of metal to dry. I need more glue, I think. And a longer hold in front of the wind tunnel. I hope you all have been staying safe and active at home with whatever has been catching your fancy. Maybe it's our live streams. Maybe it's our playful learning stream. That would make me super excited. I know that we are going to be talking soon more about our subscription box services and showing that unboxing to you all. And we've got more goodies. Excuse me, I should speak properly. We've got more goodies coming your way. Always. We're the circus. We've always got fun things up our sleeves. So as we can see here, I have glued it onto this end of the motor, and it's a little off center, just like the instructions asked me to. Now, it says to glue the motor to the top of the toy car with the dime facing the front of the car. The position of the motor will also impact the movement of the car. So, essentially what they're asking us to do is to make sure that this little thing is on the front of this car. I hope that when it spins, it doesn't knock on it, but I think that's gonna happen. Hold on, let me see. Yeah. So let's see if I can find a way. I see now why they asked for a dime. You see, friends, sometimes when you troubleshoot something, it ends up being more of a problem than a solution. I really am gonna have to find a dime, aren't I? I am. I'm gonna have to find a dime. All right, well, quick tip for any of you: if you ever make a hot glue mistake, wait for it to dry and you can completely peel it off, just like so. Let me go grab a coin very quick, and I will be right back, my friends. Just don't want you to see an empty background while I'm grabbing a coin. And I understand why it has to be a dime and nothing else, because the dime is one of the smallest coins, and we've got a very small car and only a small amount of space to clear, which is no good. So dime, motor, we're gonna try this again. Plus, I can always get this dime back. I can just wait for the glue to dry and then have my dime again. Now we gotta just wait again for it to dry, if you don't have any patience like me. What other fun things are kind of kinetically driven that I can talk to you all about right now? Oh, have any of you gone, I think it's called motocross, excuse me, or dirt biking? That would be an example of that, because you often have to bike along hills and other sorts of, yes, perfect, other sorts of obstacles in order to have a fun run. Usually most of the paths that I've been on are like that. At least that has been my experience. But as you can see, the dime is towards the front of the car, and we've got the wires hanging off, and I made sure that this does not mess with the car, and it doesn't. It kind of looks like a funky DeLorean right now, which I like. I like the DeLorean. Highly suggest the Back to the Future series for anyone who has not seen it yet. Although avoid number 3, personal opinion. So next we're going to glue the marker to the back of the car, so the marker's touching the ground. All right, let's see where that would be on our placement on our car. Right about there, huh? Okay, so it looks like it's got 2 connection points. Ugh, I have to hold this up. There we go. And again, we wait. This is a lot of patience with this project, my friends. So have a bit of patience today. It doesn't hurt that there's also a extended weekend this weekend. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to that a bit. Anybody got some fun plans? No, my marker fell. It's just a really heavy marker. I gotta just make sure that this hot glue doesn't dry before I get this marker on. Ah. I am covered in hot glue marker web. Oh, it looks like we're getting there. All right, I'm gonna hold it in front of the mirror, the mirror, in front of the fan a little bit to let it dry. Very important. This drying process is important. As you saw, when I rushed a bit, it didn't like that. So keep that in mind, friends. Okay. So the next part says for us to attach the battery to the motor terminals using electrical tape, and then we're supposed to tape the battery to the car. Well, what that is essentially saying is that I gotta get one of these AA batteries, or AAA, excuse me. We are using AAA. So many things, not enough hands. Sometimes I wish I was an octopus so I could hold all the things that I want to. So, we have our battery here. And what it's asking us to do is to attach this to the positive and negative ends of the wire. Now, make sure that your wires don't touch together or each other, because that will cause a lot of issues. You don't want any of that. Trust me. So I'm gonna fold up my wires real fast and try to attach these to the top of this battery. I'm starting to think these wires might be too long. I've got a tiny car. I should have worked with a bigger car. Maybe we'll see if that works better in a bit. All right. Hopefully this works. I'm gonna touch the negative side to the other side. Up. Looks like we've got no motor function. Not at all. It could be the battery. It could be the motor. I've got to keep testing until I figure out what the problem is. And there's a lot of trial and error whenever we're doing homemade projects, and that's okay, friends. There's no problem with that. It's all about learning, right? It does help to have more than... Ooh! Okay, so this battery works. So I know that. So let me just make sure that this end is attached to this end and vice versa. Doop-de-doo. Do-do-do-do. And whenever you're attaching wires to a battery, you always want as much of the exposed wire on the battery as possible so that it can have the most power. Oh, see, now I got a problem again. And I think it might be this electrical tape. Let me see, hold on. Let me see if I can do something, my friends. First, I've got to put down my construction paper. And my marker is definitely touching the paper. And now let's see about the motor and the battery. See if I can move my camera to show you all more. But let's see how this is going first. I might have shorted my battery by mistake. Oh, nope, that's a lie. Okay, let's see. Oh no! Okay, let's see. I need to move this marker further down, it seems. Oh. Ah, alright. So friends, I'm having a bit of a complication right now. A, my marker is too big for this tiny car. Don't think this car is going anywhere. I tried. So I'm going to actually scrape him off of the top of our tiny car right here, and let's try on our bigger wooden car. Maybe the amount of space that is available to us on the other car will behoove us a little more. Oops, all the plastic is melting everywhere. Okay, and I'm gonna try using the larger motor as well, this giant one. So first of all, I gotta make sure this pen is at a good spot. So let me see. Okay, that's where it needs to be. I'm gonna put some hot glue down the side and on the table. Just lightly dot the marker down. Ouch! Just burnt myself. See, I'm an adult, and I just burnt myself just a bit on this hot glue gun. It is hot, 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 hot. Okie dokies. So, that just got finished, and okay. And we're going to try possibly the bigger motor, because I think this will work a little bit better. And I'm gonna try to, oop. Just on this side. Same thing with the other one. And whenever you do want to reuse something like this motor, I pulled off all of the hot glue off of it, so it's back to its original iteration, which is what we always want whenever we have items like that, and that we want to be able to reuse in the future. And let's just get wires on this side. I think you might be able to hear Miss Artemis. She's very, very vocal today. Okay. And we're going to try again with the dime on the bigger motor this time. Just slightly off center, like they asked. Oop. Also, I'm finding that the gluing process is a lot easier on these larger pieces too, but that's a go figure. So we've got that. And then, remember, we want this towards the dime. Oh no! The dime fell off, which means I gotta reattach it. That means it wasn't glued well enough. All right, let's try again. Ooh, ow, hot, 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 hot. Again, friends, please be careful. I'm not being very careful right now. Please don't do what I do. Just do what I say. All right, and now, again, we're gonna try to glue this to the front of the car. Yep, that gives it enough clearance. All right. Oh no, my dime fell down again. Gosh darn that dime. This dime just doesn't want to be a part of my project today. Ow, 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 ow. Oh, my poor fingers. Okay. Let's try the battery on this one. See if this is any better. Fingers crossed. Let's make sure this motor works first. Oh, this motor sure doesn't work. Oh dear. That's no good. Well, let's see if we can get back on our other one. Ooh, I am creating a mess on my table though. I am going to unplug my hot glue gun because that's the last of it for now. Yes, whenever you're working with hot objects, friends, make sure that when you're done with them to unplug them because they can still be hot. Hot glue guns, especially this one that I have, sadly don't have on-off buttons, so it just stays on and it's boiling hot, and if I accidentally brush against it, my fingers are gonna be hurting, which is no good. So once you have all of those attachments on your little motorized vehicle, oh my goodness, all of the hot glue gun webs just everywhere, everywhere, friends. Let me get some wires on this other motor. Sometimes you gotta just play around with things, trial and error, friends, because that is some of these components for you. They might work the way that you want them to, and sometimes they just don't. And it is okay. Okay, let's see about this one. Ooh. A good way to make sure your wires stay put is if you create a little fish hook loop, just like so. And you can always do a jangle test. This is what I do, is I shake it just to make sure that my wires are all good. Let's test that battery again, because we gotta keep testing these batteries until we figure out which one is the best one. touching the negative side. Oops, gotta make sure it's not touching my skin because my skin conducts electricity. All right, and we're good to go. Oh boy. Isn't this just part of the making process? Doing things over and over again? Right, friends? Because you never know what's gonna work out for you compared to somebody else. Woo! Want to make sure I don't hot glue my computer. That would not be good. Hot gluing the computer would definitely be a tragedy, if not a travesty. Okay, I'm going to tape this motor instead of glue it because I have a funny feeling this might work well. Okay. Okay. We have our motor taped down. So you can see what I'm doing right here. Ta-da! And now it's just the batteries time. Although I have a sneaky feeling it's not going to work the way I want it to with just the electrical tape because I think it needs more on there. It needs more of a deep connection so that I can roll this car forward. But let me see what I can do. Also, I'm finding that this motor is not strong enough for this car. This car is too big. It absolutely is. However, it gave me a really beautiful looking line before I got anywhere. I know that's hard to see, my friends, a little bit. Oh, the light helps a bit on it. But you can see the marker line that the car drew. However, I'm starting to figure out for myself that unfortunately, for this particular weight of car, this motor, this tiny motor, is not strong enough to carry the car across the way. What it really needs is something about this size. But unfortunately, I don't think that motor is working. Nor is it, I think I might need a stronger battery because remember, if it is a larger motor, which means it needs more energy for it to work properly. So, essentially, if you followed my steps and you just taped, and using electrical tape again, just a reminder, to tape the battery onto the back of your car, and you find that when you test your motor, it's running just fine, you're going to have a motorized marker car that can just keep going straight. However, that's a big problem, right? Because if it goes on and on forever, you might start drawing lines in places that you don't want to, which would not be good at all. So, what could we potentially create to slow it down or stop it? Well, a wall, if it ran into a wall, it would stop because then it can't go any more forward. If it ran into something that maybe one of the wheels tripped on, it wouldn't go anywhere either. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is how do we stop this car? Because as of right now, we made a completely closed circuit. Remember, open circuit is an open circle, closed circuit is a closed circle. So this is a completely closed circuit inside of our motorized vehicle, which means it's just going to keep going and going until that battery runs out, which is not necessarily what we want. So often, switches, like a light switch, is what we create to create an on and off sense. For this, you could always just not tape down one of your sides to your battery. You can create a switch for yourself, whether that be an extra. We often use paper clips at the foundation that work really well. You can hook a paper clip onto the end of a wire, and that can be your switch, because once you connect both wires together, that's when the whole circuit loop happens. However, if that that paper clip is not connected to the other wire, the circuit will not be closed and therefore it will be off, which is super, super cool. If you can't find hobby motors around, I have heard that a great way to harvest some hobby motors is actually to go to the dollar store and grab some of their mechanical toothbrushes and take the motor outside of that and use that on light objects. Again, It is a small motor, just like this one right here, so you're going to have to move things that are lightweight. Unfortunately, anything, even, I know this doesn't seem like it weighs a lot, but because of its solid material and a couple other things, it does need more force. So not only a bigger battery, but a bigger motor in order for it to travel forward. Another way for this to work, if you don't have a motor, is tie a string to the end of it and pull it along. It's more analog. It's definitely like those pull toys that we've seen before, where sometimes it's the shape of a doggy and maybe, or a duck, and it'll make quack quack sounds when the piece of wood rolls along. But that's essentially the same idea of it has potential energy when it stops still, but the minute that you start pulling it is when that potential energy gets converted into kinetic energy. And then when you stop pulling it again, that is when it's back to its highest potential energy source. Because remember, potential energy is just what the object can hold right at the very top without it moving at all. It is in stationary position whenever we're talking about potential energy. And kinetic energy, on the other hand, is the energy of anything in motion. So anything that's moving is going to have kinetic energy. Not only that, but if it has a motor inside of it or anything mechanical, it does have mechanical energy as well. I know we're talking about a lot of different things, and we haven't even mentioned gravity, which is another factor in this, because remember, m times g times h. And that's another big factor, especially since we live on Earth and everything that comes up must come down, just like Newton said, and just as you saw with my car right here. So again, kinetic energy, movement, 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 potential energy, stop, no movement. The best way that I have been able to remember it for myself, let me bring out all my fun color stuff, because I know I love it when I draw. I know you guys get a kick out of it, so it's mutually beneficial for both of us. Excuse me. Ooh, pink, perfect. You guys can see on a pink background. So, as we were talking before, with a roller coaster, we can just draw one hill, for example. Let me get my larger black markers so that you can see more, my friends. I always forget that I don't have markers dark enough to transfer through. I just need to get big, fat expo markers, and then I will be a happy scamp. Okay, let's try this again. So we're just looking at one hill right here. And if this is our little roller coaster, I know he's just a little bug. Yay, yay people, yay, yay. Okay, so as we go up this hill, we are building that potential energy. And this is where the potential energy is the highest, the top of that. Gravity takes over on the way down and the car downhill. That is when the kinetic energy gets into play. But once it's down at the stopping point again, at the bottom of the hill, it's back to potential energy. So potential energy and kinetic energy is constantly in this cyclical or circle-like form. Like we were just seeing with that swing, remember how potential energy was on both ends? So the top and the bottom. And then kinetic energy was in the middle whenever it was in motion. So this is a great example of something in real life that helps me visualize and remember potential and kinetic world around us. As much as we don't think about it, there is science and math everywhere in everything that we do. Like I talked before about perspective and painting and how that is done by math and gridding out the art piece itself, with the difference between binary and analog last week or a couple weeks ago. We saw that sometimes the binary transfer of information can be a lot clearer and more precise, but sometimes analog is usually the way to go because we're not relying on a mechanical system. Extremely important for us to be aware of the different things around us, because I know sometimes in class it's very hard to understand these concepts that seem really foreign and super wordy, and it can it can be hard to understand sometimes. So I hope that comparing potential and kinetic energy to roller coasters has given you all the ability to possibly look at maybe there's some other cool things that play with potential and kinetic energy that you may know of. For instance, are any of you fans of skiing or snowboarding? When you're at the top of the hill, that's where you have most of your potential energy, the most of it. And while you're sliding down the hill, the gravity is not only pulling you, but also the weight of you going downhill is also pulling you down. So during that process of sliding down that snowy hill, you are using kinetic energy. And then when you stop at the very bottom of the hill, whether that be you have those sticks in your skis and you stick them down, or you do a cool swishy move, you are creating point of potential energy for yourself. Otherwise, if you could, hill slope just kept going forever and ever and ever, essentially, as long as those forces were still at play. Because why? Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is just converted into different things. Like we were talking about that guy's hat to keep him cool, right? So he had the solar panels on top of his head, which is solar energy. That's a primary energy source. That solar panel connected to a set of batteries that he had right here. He had some batteries right here on his head, and that is electrical energy. And electrical energy, as we learned, is a secondary power source, which means it needs a primary power source in order for it to work. So the sun and those batteries are connected to that little fan that was right in front of his face, and that fan, actually I'll just hold up my fan, that fan is powered by those batteries, and it keeps blowing in